GM. I'm back with trying to make a new video. So Wizards of the Coast recently released a new Unearthing Arcana, which is called Sidekicks. So they're just giving out some new optional rules to create sidekick sidekick NPCs, I would think, to follow along with the party, and it's just to fill in the ranks for what the party wants. What if the party needs like additional NPCs or maybe even like NPCs, they're just following the characters around. So as usual in this usual unearthing the arcana videos, I just want to do like a live read together, in front of the camera to give like my gut reactions and maybe some thoughts, uh, some epiphanies, I guess you want to call it, eureka moments, or just trying to commentate on what I'm reading right at the moment in front of me, and maybe make some sense of how this Anava kind of turns out and would be useful on my table or maybe anyone else's table based on my opinions if anyone cares to listen. So I think we'll just get down straight into it, and there are some additional supplementary reading that you might want to do ahead of time before you get into the Anafakana itself. So I would there generally point to you that the DMG actually already has some optional variants or some suggestions on how to include NPC in your party and create like NPC party members or companions, followers, hirelings, extras, whatever you want to call. I mean, the DMG itself has plenty of those options already available. So, how does this sidekick rules come in and differentiate itself? And does it run on a different system, does different mechanic, or it comes from a very different assumption than what was already provided? So I'm just gonna. So if you are interested in what the DMG, I would suggest reading what the DMG has already said about this NPCs, and some of you may already be using it. I know quite certain that if you were running out the abyss, um, there were a lot of NPCs to handle. So you could have used some of these DMG NPC rules, but I felt that with this Anafakana, there is another alternative method of keeping track of all the NPCs that the party would be traveling with during both half of the Out of the Abyss adventure. So I generally thought that if I had not finished running my, or if I was about to start running Out of the Abyss, then I would definitely have given this Anafakana a really really deep look to see how it would affect the adventure as written. But that's water under the bridge. So let's just get it right into the oh yeah. So if you're interested in what the DMG has to say, I would suggest you read. It's all available on page 92 to 93 of the DMG. So yeah, like I said, I would suggest you go through those first and see what the suggestions are that the DMG has already provided, and then dig into this sidekick rules to see is it any different, or how different is it, or is it more to your liking. So now we can get into the proper article itself for sidekicks. So most people usually don't read this kind of stuff, but I usually like to start from the beginning because I want to know what's the design intent that Jeremy Crawford and Mike Merles had in mind. And the fun thing about Arnold Fakana sometimes is that it gives you like a little pry into what the designers are thinking for their next supplement. So last month they already had the sea traveling one, and it seems to make a little bit of sense of why they wanted to do that particular mechanic for sea traveling. And after I finished doing that Unearthing the Arcana video and I was looking through the DMG, there were actually some rules that actually work quite similar to what the Unearthing Arcana suggested. So I'm not sure exactly like is the Unearthing Arcana trying to remind uh, players that such rules already existed. It's just that usually those are the kind of rules that we like to just flip over. Uh, but if they were going for some sort of naval theme or some oceanic sea traveling supplement, uh, I that might be indicative of something. But having this sidekick rules coming following behind the oceanic naval traveling one. You know, there's not really a real consistent. There's not a real uniting theme between these two. So you know, who knows what Wizards is planning to do with these sidekick rules, and maybe it'll be using another supplement that is like more additional variant rules for DMs or something like that. And given the fact that you know they have already covered this ground before, this is not exactly like entirely new mechanics. So maybe Wizards is seeing something that they need to refine furthermore, uh, in addition to what they already have in the DMG. So, all right, let's just get back into the main article itself, which is on the opening. So it says here, uh, this article gives you a straightforward way to play and level up a sidekick in Dungeons and Dragons. The rules presented here take a creature with a low challenge rating and give it levels as you gain levels. So that's already one of the distinctions different from previous rules in the DMG. In the previous rules of the DMG, NPCs get their share of the XP together with the party. So that probably caused a few problems in the sense that the whole leveling of the group suffers as well because of the additional NPCs. So now they're just tying the level of these sidekicks to the level of the characters. So the sidekicks you don't really have to like track XP for the sidekicks, but you know just as long as the character levels up, then your sidekick levels up as well. Okay, so on your adventures, you sometimes meet a town person, an animal, or another creature that forge a special relationship with them. That creature might even join you on your adventures, which usually sparks this question: how does this sidekick get better as you gain levels? As you become more powerful, the foes you face are likely to become more dangerous for Vera the Guard, Biscuit the Mastiff, or another companion you befriended in the early days of your adventuring career. This article answers the question, giving your sidekick a clear path of advancement. All right. Okay, so sidekick stats. In these rules, a sidekick is a creature who is your friend and who accompanies you on adventures. It's essentially a second character you play. The DM might decide to play instead, or you could co-play with other players at the table. The sidekick can be any type of creature with a stat block in the monster manual or another D&D book, but it must meet these prerequisites. So this is slightly different than what the DMG has at the moment. There were no prerequisites in the DMG versions. So the prerequisites are its challenge rating must be 1 or lower. The two of you must be friends. So I think I saw like a joke tweet from Sly Flourish was like saying, okay, you know, all this between these two prerequisites, one was very mechanical in the sense that all right, the challenge rating must be 1 or lower, and the other one was very fluffy in the sense that you know, it's just about making sure that the two of your characters are actually friends. Although I actually replied to him that saying that this could be actually referring to the starting attitude, the attitudes mechanic in DMG. You have a hostile, indifferent, and friendly, and there were actually some mechanical implications of creatures if creatures are friendly to you or not, especially relating to like charm spells, or even some spell descriptions actually mention like the target if the target is friendly to you. Yeah, so if your dungeon master actually utilizes this set of rules, this part of the two of you must be friends would probably refer to that you have to have the that NPC must have a friendly attitude towards your PC, and that would open up a whole range of questions, a whole range of mechanical questions like how do you make a character friendly to you. So I mean that is covered under the DMG rules for attitudes. Let me just see if I can find that here. No, charisma checks. Yeah, yeah. So I think it's under the social interaction rules. Um, yeah, changing of attitudes. Yeah, so you want to read up more on how the attitude rules work? Look at DMG page 244 to 245. Yeah, so that would cover the three types of attitudes and how you can change them and that sort of thing. All right, so coming back to the sidekick UA. Um, okay, challenge rating must be 1 or lower. So I think this is This is also a very interesting prerequisite, mechanical speaking, because even in the ones in the DMG, never there is no cap to who you can turn into an NPC companion, but this one does. So CR1 is actually, well, we may think it's very low, but I think the interesting thing about CR1 is that actually it covers quite a bit of like humanoids, uh, as well as other creature types. So, and don't forget, like in the intro of the article itself, it says that these rules can be applied to like beasts, can probably apply to different, non-humanoid type monsters as well. So if I'm just gonna like get a brief rundown of humanoid CR1 creatures, let me see if I can get that quick up. Okay, all right. So humanoid monsters. Okay. So there's a reason why I have a Excel sheet of all the monsters to make life much searching much easier. All right, so CR zeros would be the commoner stat, which is the NPC stat already. So you may already want to just use that instead of using the sidekick rules. Uh, those of lower than CR ones, you would have things like the Zvart, the Merfolk, the Kobolds, um, so I'm gonna just skip through the NPCs, the NPC monsters, things like cultists, guard, bandits. I'm looking for like specific monsters of the humanoid type that is of CR1 or less. So for the less than CR1s, you have kobolds, you have the Zvart, you have the Quota, you have the Turtle, you have the Troglodyte, you have the winged kobolds, you have the Kenku, you have the Grimlock, you have the Grung, you have the Darrow, you have the Drow, you have the Goblin, you have the Bullywug, you have the Aarakocra, and you have the Skulk, Shakwigdins, Orcs, and they are actually even like for some of the particular humanoid races that have different stats for different types of different variants of that monster, like for example orc nurtured one or winged kobolds. Those also fall under the less than 1 CR range. Orcs, jackalware, lizard folk, hobgoblins, gnolls, okay, the deep gnomes and the fights. So the CR ones, you get the UNT pure bloods, the triqueen, uh, the measles, the goblin boss, Gnaw Flash Gnawers, Fire New Dugas, Bugbears. Okay. So yeah, there's actually quite a bit of range that actually is covered under the CR cap, uh, and some of these will just make great sidekicks to just to stack these rules on top of them. Uh, I should, you know, the this UA itself is only like 6 pages long, but uh, I would say I mean most of it, I think most of the general rules will be covered in the first few pages, and then the rest will be just the details. And basically what it comes down to is they're just three basic like sort of NPC classes. So under the gaining a sidekick, uh, gaining this. Okay, I think I'll just talk about the CR bit first because there's a sidebar here. Customization for any CR. A Dungeon Master's Guide offers guidance on customizing a monster, including giving it levels in a class. That approach works with any monster in the game, but it can be complicated since it requires the monster challenge rating to be recalculated. The approach to sidekicks in this article focuses on giving level to a low CR monster without ever having to recalculate its CR. So yeah, so that's one purpose of using the sidekick rules, and why is there a reason for capping the CR? Because I guess if you use the same sidekick rules onto a higher CR monster, then it will affect the things like recalculating of CR. So I guess the CR1 and below type of monsters would be just like the benchmark for playing, and doesn't have enough variance to go on them. If you add on a class, that would just cause a recalculation of the CR. Alright, so gaining a sidekick class. When your sidekick joins you, it gains a sidekick class. Choose which class it will have for the rest of its career: warrior, expert, or spellcaster. This sidekick classes are detailed below. They are reminiscent of the classes available to player characters but are simpler. To gain the expert or the spellcaster class, a creature must have at least one language in its stat block that it can speak. So why that particular clause is important is because, like I said, this sidekick can be applied to anything, any creature type other than humanoids. So there may be certain humanoids, certain creature types that does not have a spoken language, and therefore they cannot take expert or spellcaster, and therefore they're only just left with the warrior. Okay. All right. Leveling up a sidekick. Whenever you gain a level, your sidekick also gains a level. It doesn't matter how much of your recent adventures the sidekick experienced. The sidekick levels up because of a combination of the adventure it shares with you and its own training. All right. So simple as that. You level up, the sidekick levels up. Uh, so I guess that means there's actually fewer people to share the XP. So like they're not exactly like XP vacuums that they just suck them in and then it doesn't come back to the player characters. So I guess that's just one less thing to track with the sidekick compared to the normal NPC rules. All right, hit points. Whenever the sidekick gains level, it gains one hit die and its hit point maximum increases. To determine the amount of the increase, roll the hit die. The type of die appears in the psychic stat block, and it's at its constitution modifier. It gains a minimum of one hit point per level. Alright, standard stuff with leveling up. Although this one explicitly mentions you roll rather than allowing you to take the average, but I think most DMs, if they've been using the average method for increasing hit dice, then I don't see why they wouldn't they would allow the psychics to use the same method as well. Anyway, okay. Proficiency bonus. Once your companion has a sidekick class, the sidekick proficiency bonus is determined by its level in that class, as shown in the classes table. Whenever the sidekick proficiency bonus increases by 1, add 1 to the 2 hit modifier of all the attacks in its stat block. Increase the DC in its stat block by 1. Okay, so it uses the proficiency bonus of the class, and if there's an increase, it affects the creature's stat block. So that means this is not the psychic class are not a total replacement of the creature's stats. You still need a base creature, and they still get to use their stats. It's just that their proficiency, the number of their proficiency is determined by the class rather than by the creature, by the stat block of the creature, of the monster, you want to call it. So that might be a little bit of a confusion, because that might mean that you need to find out what is the proficiency bonus of the base stat block of the monster, then take that out and then add back in the sidekicks class progression of proficiency bonus. So there might be some additional work that you need to be done, because I don't quite remember how proficiency of monsters are calculated. Let me see if the DMG has something to say about that. If I'm not mistaken, it has something to do with the number of hit dice, and you just treat the hit dice as though it was the level of that monster, and therefore you just follow the proficiency bonus table. Yeah, so that might be a little bit more complicated than it sounds, and that might not be a good thing. All right, so there is a monster statistics by challenge rating, which table, DMG page 274, which talks about, which shows like there's a CR range and what is the proficiency bonus based on that CR. So I'm gonna have to take this, like compare this side by side later on with the sidekicks table progression of proficiency bonus, and it looks like it might just be slightly different or almost the same. Almost the same, I guess, because it would follow a very similar path with the base, the normal character proficiency bonus progression as well, which is lowest at 2, highest at 6 at level 20, and it goes at a step of like per tier, that sort of thing. So maybe in that sense, if by having how sidekick words proficiency bonus, I guess you don't really have to change that much. But maybe someone has to double check the math to see, is there a difference between the starting proficiency bonus of the base stat block and the starting proficiency bonus of the same stat block, but with using sidekick progression tables. Alright, so let's go to page number 2. Ability score increases. Whenever the sidekick gains the ability score improvement class feature, remember to adjust anything in stat block that relies on the ability modifier that you increase with the feature. For example, if the sidekick has an attack that uses strength, increase the attack modifier to hit and damage if the sidekick strength modifier increases. If it's unclear whether a melee attack in the stat block uses strength or dex, the attack can use either. There's a sidebar, multi-attack versus extra attack. Your sidekick might have the multi-attack action in its stat block. If it does and gains the extra attack class feature, remember that class extra attack works with the attack action, not the multi-attack action. In short, you can't use extra attack with multi-attack. Okay, that has a point. And let me just go through and see how many of these monsters actually have multi-attack. So for some of you who may not know that multi-attack is not exactly a product of the multi-attack and extra attack are not the same thing. They are different. They are both different actions, and both require you to take different actions as well. Extra attack only tags on if you use the attack action, as in stated in the PHB. Same goes with the multi-attack, but multi-attack is a different action which this doesn't use the attack action. So therefore, if you gain what the sidebar is trying to say here, if you gain extra attack, when you if you decide to use multi-attack rather than the normal attack action, the multi-attack does not get the benefit of the extra attack. And same goes vice versa. If you decide to use the attack action, you gain the benefit of extra attack, but you do not make the same amount of attacks as according to what the multi-attack action of the stat block says. So sometimes so in some cases I would think in this scenario, I would generally think creatures with a base stat that has a multi-attack is probably going to do more attacks than a creature who levels up later on and gains extra attack. So I guess it's good to clarify, and in that case also, yes, you might just make the point that if you get a sidekick with multi attack, you're most likely not going to use extra attack. So maybe you want to pick another sidekick class for it to do, like an expert or a spellcaster if you can speak. Okay, so he also mentions here if you use the ability score increase and it affects things like strength or dex, you're gonna need to increase the attacks that uses those modifiers, which can be a little bit troublesome because the stat block doesn't really state it very clearly which attack uses which modifier. In some case, except I mean, like if it's clear cut, like if it's a melee attack, it's probably most likely going to be strength. If it's a range attack, it's most likely going to be dex. But you know, there may be some exceptions that you need to watch out for, and having this particular AS ability score increase worded this way means extra work for the DM to sort of like reverse engineer the attacks to confirm whether it uses strength or uses dex. Yeah, so it's good to know, but not when additional rules like UA comes in and that gives extra work for the DM, that's a minus point for me in general. Alright, so we'll be going into the 3 NPC sidekick classes. So as already mentioned earlier, there is the warrior, the expert, and the spellcaster. So the first one would be the warrior, and I'll be looking at his table. Alright, so warrior sidekick grows in martial prowess as it fights by your side. It might be a soldier, a town guard, a battle-trained beast, or any other creature honed for combat. A sidekick gains the following class features as it gains level in this class as summarized on the warrior table. So what do we have here? Okay, generally what I want to start with is I want to know the number of class features that it gains throughout. So I'm probably gonna have to start listing some of it down, and you do the math for me. So let's see, we have the warrior, and the number of class features that he starts with is he gets bonus proficiencies. That's a class feature, so I'll read into it later to see what does he get bonus proficiency out of? He has second wind, he has danger sense, uh, he has improved critical, he has ability score improvements. Okay, he has extra attack. He has battle readiness and indomitable, improved defense, and superior critical. So all in all, that's 10 class features, but also bear in mind that some of them may be repeats. For example, things like ability score improvement, uh, which happens almost at the fighter's rate, I believe. Let me see. Let me just get down to fighter's rate of ability score improvements. Uh, so fighters gets ability score improvements at 468, 4, 468, 12, 14, 16, and 19. All right, so it's exactly the same. Extra attack happens at 5, 11, and 20, uh, which is the same as the warrior sidekick class. Um, and what else does he have that's repeating? Extra uses like second wind. He gets one use at first level, and he gets a second use at 18th level. All right. Uh, what else? Indomitable. He gets one use at level 9, and then he gets another second use at 13th, and a third use at 17. So yeah, so it's 10 class features, but some of them are tiered and they get multiple uses as they grow up to level. Generally, it's a full table in the sense that there is no blank levels. Every level that the sidekick gains goes up by has something new for that sidekick class. All right. So I have a feeling, based on the names of the features, most of these are just like cherry picked from various classes. Uh, you've already like got very similar ones. Like second wind comes from the fighters class. Danger sense, I believe, comes either from the barbarian or the rogue. Right, danger sense comes from barbarian. You have improved critical, which I believe comes from the champion subclass. Yep. And you also have things like, I think battle readiness is something new. I don't think I've seen it before. It could be one of the Zenata subclasses, which I don't have a record yet. And indomitable is definitely a fighter's feature. Improved defense also seems to be new, and you have superior critical, which is also I think from the champion. Critical, which is also, yeah, is from the champion. So it's a very interesting mix of the class features that you have here, which is, in this case, you've already seen that it's like a fighter barbarian mixed. Uh, Interestingly enough, I don't think they mentioned the hit dice of the classes, which it should have been there. Yes, I don't see I don't see the hit dice of these classes. I mean, it would probably be a some sort of variant between, like warrior should be D10, spellcaster D6, and expert maybe D68, but it's notably missing. Yeah. Okay. So I'll be taking some notes because I figured that since I'm doing all this like live reading and commentary of these Hand of Arcana, I should, probably just submit them to the surveys that the Wizard put out every month, at the end of every month when that survey comes out. So, yeah, so I'll just put that as a note. I'll probably send them this link to this video. Maybe they'll appreciate it more. I don't know. Maybe. All right, no hit dice noted for NPCs for psychic classes. So someone's probably going to ask, Jeremy Crawford or Mike Mills at some point, because it's obvious enough. But sometimes these are the kind of like the details that you generally just miss because we are so focused on the features more than the general details that you generally want. All right, so let's just continue on. So bonus proficiency. So okay, just one more quick look at the table because I guess maybe it might be worth just trying to compare uh, when does the warriors MP sidekick classes gain their features compared with their base class counterparts. So second win at first level, I believe that is how that's as early as the fighter gets it. Second win as first class, and then danger sense. The danger sense, I believe, is the barbarian second level. Danger sense as barbarian second level, all right, and they get improved critical at third level. Okay, which is yeah, okay, it's the same as the champion fighter. So I guess the assumption that this is a champion subclass fighter mixed with a little bit of barbarian. Ability score improvement at level 4. Extra attack level 5, which would be the same with the fighter's progression. Level 5 first extra attack, alright, and then level 6 ability score improvement. Battle readiness. So what does battle readiness do? Battle readiness, after the sidekick reaches 7th level, it has advantage on initiative rolls. So advantage on initiative rolls, I believe there's only one class that has that, or is that like a feat? I believe it's a feat. So it comes with the okay. So the alert feat gives the +5 bonus to initiative. It's not even an advantage. So I don't think there's an actual class feature that specifically mentions advantage to initiative. Yeah, even the rakish audacity from the swashbuckler says you add your charisma mod to the initiative roll. So definitely an entirely new feature unless I missed something from the newer supplements. Um, Level 7 advantage to initiative rolls. I mean the closest you could get to this is probably jack of all trades, and even that only applies proficiency to initiative rolls. So okay, so you might have a faster acting sidekick, at 7th level. And then we come back to 8, ability score improvement, and indomitable at level 9, which I believe is the same for the fighter. Yep, fighter gets it at level 9. Level 10 is improved defense, so that's also new. Level 10, the sidekicks armor at 10th level, the sidekicks armor class increases by 1. Uh, increases by 1. Armor class increasing by 1. That could, the only one I can think of is the domain, the forge domain, or one of the fighting styles that gives a +1 to AC. I think because of the armor, or was it the defense fighting style? Uh, yeah, the defense fighting style. But that one has a caveat that says that you need to be wearing armor, or yeah, you need to be wearing armor to get the +1 bonus to armor class, whereas improved defense doesn't. So that's something, maybe the future iterations of this psychic rules when it comes out on print would change. They will just give the defense fighting style. Okay, and what's the next feature? And then it'll be just like repeats. After level 10 would be level 11, 2 extra attacks. Level 12, ability score improvement. Level 13, indomitable. Level 14, ability score improvement. Level 15 is superior critical. I believe superior critical happens at level 15 for the fighter as well. It's super dandy when you have like D&D Beyond to do all this kind of research. Although I don't have D&D Beyond, but I use my own personal wiki for rules. So yeah, it's super dandy to have all these references just at your fingertips rather than having to flip through the PHB and remembering the page numbers, and then sometimes you never bookmark the pages that you need in the context of looking through uh, all these references. All right, so superior critical for the fighter champion is at level 15, which is the same for the warrior class. And then you have level 16 ability score, level 17 indomitable, level 18 second wind. That might be the only difference, I think, between the fighter and the warrior. Uh, so the fighter may not have additional uses of second wind beyond when he first got them. Let me just double check that. Fighter. Okay. Yes, the fighter does not have an additional usage of second wind. Whereas this warrior and sidekick class does have an extra use of second wind at level 18. So that's quite a big difference actually. Some fighters may feel that it's better to have a second use of second wind. There's no action surge compared to the fighter. Okay, there is some slight differences to take note of. No extra use of second wind, whereas the normal fighter does not. And then you have ability score improvement and level 20. So it's a very close mimic to the fighter's feature table, with a few exceptions like danger sense, improve battle readiness, improve defense, which is a small variant of the defense fighting style, and the additional use of second wind. So these are the ones that if these are the ones that you want to take note, if when you're studying through the warrior psychic class. So all right, now that we are done with that, and the next one that I want to go into is the expert psychic class. So the expert psychic class is a master of certain tasks or knowledge. The psychic follows a path that favors a cunning over brawn or spellcasting. You can be a scout, a musician, a librarian, a clever street kid, a wily merchant, or a burglar. To gain the expert class, the creature must have at least one language in his stat block that it can speak. A sidekick gains the following class features as it gains level in this class as summarized on the expert table. Okay, so I guess it's pretty much the same progression. What we have now, this is much more varied compared to the warrior sidekick class, because that one follows closely with the fighter. But already just looking through this expert table, you're already seeing quite a big difference between you're looking at quite a big difference between with the fighter. It doesn't closely follow that much. So you already have at level 1 it has bonus proficiencies. Yeah, okay, I think I should start noting that down. The class features of the expert class. And I think this is going to be very interesting. And let's just start with one. He's got bonus proficiencies. I think I forgot to check through the warrior bonus proficiencies to see what they get, but maybe we'll come back to that a bit later. Maybe it's a retrospect. So it's bonus proficiencies, it's got expertise, it's got helpful. Okay, never heard of helpful before. It's got cunning action. I mean, we all know that is like one of the rogue's best features. We have a jack of many trades. Also, another high level, top grade class features. Ability score improvement, standard stuff. Extra attack, standard stuff. Although I guess it doesn't get as much as compared to some other classes. He has evasion, and he's got this thing called inspiring help. Sounds to me like inspiring, the bardic inspiration, but maybe just a reskinned. And what else it's got? It's got reliable talent. That sounds familiar. I think it's a rogue thing. And following that up with a sharp mind. And lastly, stroke of luck. Okay, some of these are stunning, very new-ish to me. Let me just see if I can search through some of these unfamiliar ones. Reliable talent, I believe, is a rogue. Yep. Sharp mind. Okay, there's no existing class feature that's called that. And stroke of luck. Stroke of luck. So stroke of luck is a rogue class feature, like level 20. Okay. All right, so let's just start from the very beginning. Um, just a quick check on the proficiency bonus of the expert, and also I will presume it's the same with the warrior. Uh, so like I said, there is a different table in the DMG for that has a called the, oh god, if I can still remember what's it called, monster statistics by challenge rating, which provides like a proficiency bonus by the CR. So basically, what the proficiency bonuses in the psychic classes, I would say replicates very closely to the proficiency bonus table in the player's handbook. So that means from between level 1 to level 4, it's plus 2. Between level 5 to level 8, it's plus 3. Between level 9 to 12, 9 to 12 is plus 4. And then from 13 to 16 is plus 6. Plus 5, sorry, and from 17 to 20 is plus 6. Right, so it's a complete replicate. Won't be any, not really surprising, but you know, you just want to just double check. All right, so to come back to the expert class features. Okay, bonus proficiencies. First level, it gains proficiency in one of the saving throw of your choice: dexterity, intelligence, or charisma. Okay, so that's slightly less than what you get for rogues or bards. Let me just, yeah, because those obviously have more saving throw proficiencies. Uh, like for rogue, they have dexterity and intelligence. For bard, they have, I believe, would be charisma or dexterity. Bards are saving throw in dexterity and charisma, so the expert only gets one out of three. Uh, all right. In addition, the sidekick gains proficiency in 5 skills of your choice. If the sidekick is a humanoid, it also gains proficiency with light armor, special simple weapons, and 2 tools of your choice. 5 skills is actually quite a bit, quite a lot. I think that's as much as the bard only has 3 skills. The rogue, I believe, has 5, so that might be the one that it's following. The rogue has 4. So the expert is actually more proficient in skills than both bard and rogue. Interesting. Okay. At 13th level, the sidekick gains proficiency in 1 skill of your choice, so that makes it up to a total of 6. All right, that's 6 in total. That's 6 skills proficiencies. Uh, but you can't forget the fact that rogues get stuck with 4, but with their backgrounds, they can potentially get an additional 2. So that does add up to 6 at first level. Same with bard with 3, background gives them 2. So that adds up to 5 at first level. So I guess it comes out to about equal. And the fact that but there are additional proficiencies that the expert gets that the rogue, I don't think rogues have a, all right, maybe the rogues, the subclasses in within the rogue does give additional proficiencies, I guess, depending. And maybe it's the same with bard as well. I think bards also get bonus proficiencies. Let me just check. Let me just go through the bonus proficiencies of the classes. I mean, we haven't even gone on. So assassins, College of Law, College of Valor. Yeah, these three in the rogue and the bards give additional proficiencies. So if you were saying you're taking like a thief subclass, then you will not. Then you potentially might have slightly less than the expert proficiency skills. Okay, I guess it's an interesting observation, but I don't think it's like groundbreaking in any way. It's just a skill proficiency. I mean, it's a difference, but not a big difference to give a dungeon master any kind of headache. All right, okay, moving on. Expertise at first level, choose 2 of the sidekick skill proficiencies. The sidekick proficiency bonus is doubled. It's okay. So this is, I guess, pretty much copy and paste from the rogue's expertise, bard and rogue expertise. So bard gets to choose 2 skills at 3rd level. Whereas the okay, so Bard gets expertise at level 3 and level 10 for a total of 2 skills at level 3 and 2 skills at level 10. That's 4 skills. Whereas the Rogue gets 2 at level 1 uh, and he gets to choose another 2 more at level 6. So that's way faster. Whereas the Expert has 2 at level 1 uh, and then at level 6 he gets so it's stated here at 6th level and again at 17th level choose 2 more of the psychic skill proficiencies to gain this benefit. All right, so this is one of those things that I find really annoying about how wizard words their stuff. This was definitely going to be a question of, does it mean 2 at 6 and 2 at 17, therefore a total of 6 skill proficiencies that gains expertise, or is it 1 at 6 and 1 at 17 for a total of 4 skills that has expertise? From the way it sounds to me, it sounds like it's 2 at 6, 2 at 17, so there's a total of 6 skill proficiencies that they gain expertise on, which is definitely more than the bard and rogues combined. Even the rogue only has a total of 4, and the expert sidekick class has 6. So that's gonna be a huge difference, depending what the clarification from Jeremy Crawford is gonna be, and it might be a very like appealing choice, which I'll get to I think I want to get to that point later, much at the end of this review, read through of Unearthing Arcana, about how these psychic classes are actually performing in comparison with the normal PHP classes. So let's just move on. So we'll go on to helpful. The sidekick is adept at giving well-timed assistance. The sidekick can take the help action as a bonus action. So this stacks on with cunning action, I believe. Cunning action doesn't have allows you to do help as a bonus action, I believe. Yeah. So okay. So a class that lets you do the help action as a bonus action. I don't think there's any other base class that replicates that help bonus action. Exceptional training? What's that? Okay, so I guess the closest would be the exceptional training from the ranger for beasts. You can use a bonus action to take dodge. You can use a bonus action to command the beast to take the dash, disengage, or help action on its turn. It's not as good as the helpful class feature of the expert because that's on their turn, whereas exceptional training requires you to do it on your turn. I guess that's about. Is there anything else? All right, so there's a Master of Tactics, which is the roguish, which is the mastermind archetype for rogues. You use the help action. You can use the help action as a bonus action at 3rd level. Additionally, when you use the help action to aid an ally in attacking a creature, the target of that attack can be within 30 feet of you rather than 5 feet if the target can see a few creature. Oh, okay. So Master of Tactics is just an extension of the range of how far the help bonus action can help the the party member. So I guess in terms of range, it's slightly better than the helpful. There's an additional benefit to Master of Tactics compared to helpful. So I guess that's where the designs were coming from. They just want to take like a minor version of Master of Tactics. So you already are seeing rogue bard influences plus the mastermind because of the whole helpful thing. All right. So cunning action, same. I guess it's pretty much the same thing. 2nd level, dash, disengage, hide as a bonus action, which I think would just correlate perfectly with the rogue's cunning action. Dash, disengage, or hide. And don't forget that the expert has the additional help as a bonus action because of the helpful class feature. Okay, jack of many trades. Add half its proficiency bonus to any ability check it makes that uses a skill but doesn't already include its proficiency bonus. Alright, that sounds exactly the same as the Bard's version of it. All right. So the Bard ones is more specific in the sense that you add half of your proficiency bonus rounded down, whereas this one doesn't. But you know the whole assumption of always round down in Dungeons and Dragons applies here. So yeah, it's I mean it's understood, but it's just one of those minor annoyances when they don't use the same consistent language for the exact same thing. So that might open up some loopholes if you know some certain player come up with some really clever reasoning or arguments. Hopefully something they would fix. Maybe I'll just put it in the survey notes just in case. I don't like to be this nitpicky, but given the nature of how Dungeons and Dragons rules works, it does encourage that sort of nitpicky behavior. So, I rather have all these kind of things nipped in the bud rather than having to deal with it on the table, or even off the table when the player gives an inquiry and then they say, why is there a difference? There's people sometimes read too much into the rules. Sometimes that just drags the game down to being a bit pointless at times. So yeah, Jack of all trades does not mention round down for proficiency bonus compared to Bards. Jack of all trades. Jack of many trades, sorry. I mean, I don't know how exactly this is going to be helpful to Jeremy Crawford and Mike Morose later on when they go through this survey results, but I guess it might just want to bring it to their attention that someone's actually comparing this Arcana rules with the player's handbook side by side, and maybe might change something. Okay, ability score improvements 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 19, which I think is gonna fall very closely with the Rogue and Bards version. You and some of you may have to realize that the amount of ability score improvements that the fighter and the rogue, actually now that I mentioned it, the rogues actually they get more ability score improvement features compared to the other classes. So let's look at the rogue ability score. Okay, so the rogues don't get extra. Is that it? That doesn't feel right. But if compared to the other classes, they get at 4, 8, 12, 14, 16, and 19. 4, 8, okay, 4, 8, 12, 16, 19. Okay, I'm gonna have to check back with my player's handbook to see does the rogue actually have more ability score improvements compared to the other classes. I believe it does. I remember it did. And therefore the expert class might be actually using that progression table than the bards, which doesn't have that additional ability score improvement. So rogues get it at 4, 8, 10, 4, 8, 10, 12, 16, 19. All right, so they do get slightly more. 4, 8, 12, no, that's the same. They're pretty much the same. Let me just double check. 4, 8, 10. Yes. So there's an additional ability score improvement for rogues at 10, which normal classes don't get, which the expert gets. 4, 8, 12, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14. Does the rogue get it at 14? The rogue does not get an ability score improvement at 14, which the expert does, which the fighter does, strangely enough. 16, 19. 16, 19 is the same with everyone else. The rogues get it at 16, 19. So the expert actually has more ability score improvements than the rogue, which already has more ability score improvements than the other classes except for fighter. Very interesting. Okay, so that means the total number of ability score improvements that the expert gets is 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 19. That's 7 ability score improvements throughout the class progression up to 20. The fighter has 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The fighter also has 7. And the rogue would generally only have 6. So okay, so they've already got more ability score improvements, they've already got more expertise and skills. This is looking very interesting. Okay, extra attack. All right, so when do the rogues and the bards get their extra attack? Let's compare that. The bard gets extra attack almost never, except if they are of the College of Valor, I believe. The College of Valor gets it 6. Okay. Does the rogue? I believe the rogue gets extra attack as well. Let me see about that. No, the rogue does not get extra attack. Okay. Wow. So the expert gets an extra attack at level 5, which is only once. So therefore they have 2 attacks onwards, and the maximum of extra attack, the maximum of attacks they can do is 5. Is 2 at level 5, which the fighter gets at level 2, at level 5. Sorry. So you're seeing a very interesting hybrid mix for the expert class. It's like part fighter, rogue bard, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing, because then if someone's looking for a more balanced class, I could objectively say so far that the expert seems to have more benefits compared to the warrior, which has more features. So it's a choose which one you want sort of play. But I wasn't expecting expert to stand up so well against the warrior sidekick class. Like I would have preferred if I don't think extra attack really suits the expert class. But they might. I mean, it could. They maybe the reason why Mike Mills or Jeremy Crawford wanted to put it in is just to give the class a little bit more fighting chance, at higher levels. But I still don't quite agree that the expert class should be able to fight slightly better than a rogue or bard, and that's only if the bard takes the College of Valor. So okay, you know that's why it is right now. Maybe when the survey comes in, they'll let they'll change their mind about this. Do I want to make a note about this? Maybe I shall, just as an observation. Expert gains extra attack, whereas bards, except for College of Valor, does not. And whereas bard and rogues, I believe the rogues might actually do gain extra attack. Could be one of the other subclasses. Let me see if the swashbuckler has gains extra attack. It might. Might have. Which is no, the swashbuckler does not. Okay, all right, that's strange. Okay, evasion. 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 I think is a solely rogue class feature, which the bard does not get. So it's solely a monk feature. Does the rogue not get evasion? That would be odd. Oh yes, the rogue. Yeah, the rogue does get evasion at 7th level. All right, so it's the same. the expert just gets 7th evasion at 7th level. Psychic avoiding certain dangers. Uh, all right, so the wording is a little bit different. When the when the psychic is subjected to an effect that allows it to make a dexterity saving throw, to take half damage and instinct takes no damage if it succeeds. Uh, and only half if it's failed. The psychic doesn't benefit from this feature while incapacitated. So that's an additional, clause there, which I may have missed out in from the errata. I think it makes sense that if the errata included that particular phrase that you can't benefit from evasion if you're already incapacitated. Uh, Let me just take a quick look and see if that's already included in the errata that I missed out. Player's handbook. So evasion. There is no correction to evasion in the errata. So therefore the player's handbook version actually says that you can evade, you technically by raw can evade while still incapacitated. Although I guess generally you auto fail your dex saves when you're incapacitated. Let me just, yeah, maybe that's the whole, one rule leads to another, therefore leads to another, therefore leads to another. Let me just check. Incapacitated. So why I'm pointing this out only for the sake that there are differences between the wording of evasion in the player's handbook and the evasion in the psychic Unearthing Arcana. So incapacitated only says that you can't take action or reaction. So technically, by raw, according to how evasion is written in the player's handbook, you can make a saving throw and benefit from evasion even though you're incapacitated, whereas the expert version of evasion doesn't allow you to do that. Just an observation, may not, probably most likely a mistake, but let's just put that into the survey notes. So expert evasion cannot be used when incapacitated. PHP raw does still benefits from evasion when incapacitated. Don't know how is that going to be helpful. If they take away that particular clause at the end about no that evasion can be used even though incapacitated, or you just pointed out to Jeremy Crawford that clause is missing in the player's handbook and therefore will be errated later. It could go either way. All right, inspiring help, level 9. Starting at 9th level, the sidekick's existence becomes especially inspiring when the sidekick uses his helpful bonus action. The creature who receives the help also gains a 1d6 to d20 roll. If that roll is an attack roll, the creature can forego adding the bonus to it, and then if the attack hits, the creature can add the bonus to the attack's damage roll against one target. At 18th level, the bonus increases to 2d6. So this is quite different from how the Bardic Inspiration works, in the sense that Bardic Inspiration is going by dice size, but the expert's inspiring help uses number of dice, which is still limited down to d6. Interesting differences, although it comes at a pretty late cost. Bardic Inspiration increases the number of dice. The number of times you can give someone a Bardic Inspiration increases across levels, and the dice that is given grows in size, and the bard reaches that at 15th level for d12, whereas the expert only gives you a d6 at 9th level, which is very very late compared to the bard, and 18th level only gives you 2d6, and then there has that caveat of that the expert must use their the helpful feature, which means bonus action to help. So that there is that spammy component because of helpful. The expert is most likely always going to be helping somebody, and give advantage they will do their normal action like attack and all that, and then they will help someone as a bonus action, help and do whatever help someone as a bonus action. So yeah, I guess it's fair that for that reason alone, it's fair to give the bonus inspiring help at a much later level, at level 9 and level 8. And even then, even then when they give advantage, they only give like a D6 to 2d6. The only other, I guess, the other main difference compared of inspiring help compared with bardic inspiration is because of that you can change, uh, you can add the d6 or 2d6 to damage rather than attack. So that's something unique, I would think. I can't think of any class features right off the top of my head that can do the same thing. Maybe the mastermind, if I'm willing to just dig through the whole thing. But that's an interesting feature. So the expert is, with what I already mentioned, it's starting to look like a very pretty unique sidekick class, uh, which may be a good and bad thing. I'll get into that at the end. Yeah, so I'm looking through the uh, mastermind class features, and I don't think any of them has this special ability of giving bardic inspiration, but also affecting attacks. So okay, I think we'll just move on. Reliable talent at level 11. I guess that's the same. That's about the same time when the rogue gets it. Yep, rogue gets it at level 11. Uh, Whenever the sidekick makes an ability check that includes its whole proficiency bonus, it can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. Yep, exactly the same as the rogue's version of it, so no complaints there. Okay, sharp mind. At 15 level, the sidekick gains proficiency in intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, your choice. So remember, if you go back to the bonus proficiency of the expert, they only have one proficiency out of three, compared with the other two class, compared to bard and rogue, which has two, at least two proficiencies. So the expert becomes equal to bard and rogue at level 15, which is really really long. Very takes a really long time to get there. Yeah, so I guess there is that vulnerability to that. That the expert is less has more has more sweet features, but has less safe. And looking back again, no hit dice is provided for the expert class, so again problem for second class. Okay, I've already put it in the notes. So all right, the last class feature for the expert is stroke of luck. So let me just see what stroke of luck does in the PHP. Stroke of luck. If your attack misses a target within range, you can turn the miss into a hit. If you fail an ability check, you can treat the d20 roll as a 20. Once used feature, you can use it again for short long rest. So it looks like it's exactly the same for the expert, turning misses into hits, turning fail ability checks to natural 20s. And you can only use it after a short or long rest. All right. So that's the end of the site at the expert class. Not well, definitely something much different compared to the warrior. A lot more things to think about. A lot more noticeable differences between with the expert and the rogue bards. I don't even think that if you even multi-class rogue bard, you will be able to emulate what the expert can do. Huh. Although the expert does feel like on a mechanical stat boost level, they do feel like they are actually slightly weaker than the rogue and bard because of the saving throw thing. But having additional ability score improvement, more than uh, bard and rogue, might make up for it. Okay, I don't know. There's a whole plus minus thing. I have a suspicious feeling that it's not a zero sum game. I think personally for me, I feel like the expert seems to edge out uh, to a single to just a solo class rogue or a solo class bard. So it might be something that you want if the party doesn't have a rogue or a bard, then you will want to get a sidekick, expert sidekick class, expert sidekick NPC to join the party. Then you kind of have like the best of both worlds, but you kind of have like both rogue and bard in the same person, but not exactly the best of both worlds. So yeah, maybe that's one way. Maybe that's one of the intended purposes of having an expert. Why the expert sidekick class is designed this way, which I should have mentioned earlier. What part of the design reasons or intent of Jeremy Crawford when he made this Unearthing Arcana for the sidekicks. He he made a tweet about it. I may link it in this at the bottom of the video description later on. But he says that today's UA is aimed at the person who wants one or more of the following: an easy way to fill out a party that has only one or two players. So instead of, if you have two players and then you need a party of four, instead of making two so-called NPC character classes, you can just add two sidekicks instead. I can see that why you want to do that, but maybe we'll get to that a bit later on. NPC classes that are less complicated than PC classes. Now, I can't really agree with that, given how the expert looks compared to Rogue and Bard. The Rogue and Bard will actually be the more simpler classes than the expert, because given how many features that the expert has. And his third point is an easy way to level up monsters, NPCs, particularly without using CR. So that's already resolved by the whole leveling up with the characters rather than sharing XP pools and tracking the XPs individually. Okay, now let's go into the final sidekick class, which is the spellcaster. So a sidekick who becomes a spellcaster walks the path of magic. The sidekick might be a hedge wizard, a priest, a soothsayer, a spell-wielding performer, or a person with magic in their veins. To gain the spellcaster feature, the creature must have at least one language in the stat block that it can speak. A sidekick gains the following class feature as it gains level in this class, as summarized on the spellcaster table. Alright, so usual practice, let's list down the spellcaster's class features, although I would believe that this would have the lowest number of class features compared to the warrior and sidekick, because given that the biggest spellcasting feature that every spellcaster has is definitely the spellcasting class feature. So they have bonus proficiencies, which gives them additional proficiencies to what is already on the stat block, which is something that I didn't mention earlier on. That might be very important, because based on the choice of the base NPC stat block that you want to use for the sidekick, they might get actually more proficiencies out of the normal, standard races plus class combination. Alright, so spell casting, they have cantrip spell slots as spells known. Alright, so they use the spells known mechanic rather than the spell prepared mechanic, which means there is a limitation to the number of spells they know, and therefore they are not as versatile as, say, the cleric, druid, paladin, ranger. In a way, also less than a wizard, because the wizard can technically know more spells than classes like the sorcerer, the warlock. Is it the warlock? Okay. Anyway, spellcasting ability. Okay, and then they have magical recovery, ability score improvement, focus casting, and signature spells. So I recognize most of these class features. Oh, there's more. There's potent cantrips. Okay. Empowered spells, focus casting, and signature spells. So I recognize most of these class features. Magical recovery, I believe, is the wizard's arcane recovery. Alright. It's really, really handy to have all this in a wiki rather than flipping through books to do references like this. So there is no magical recovery, but there's an arcane recovery. So I'm gonna just assume it's pretty much the same. I don't Potent cantrips. Okay, potent cantrip is I've probably not put the wizard high level enough to get it. 6th level. Oh, okay. 6th level, same thing. Empowered spells, I would believe, is the meta magic. And then focus casting. This is new to me. I don't recall any particular class feature that sounds like it. And signature spell, I think, is the wizard's highest class ability. Signature spell is at level 20. Okay. So the number of spell features that the spellcaster psychic class has is up to 8, including bonus proficiencies. Uh, and you have ability score improvement, which is tiered. So let me just go back to the table and see if there's anything else that is tiered. It looks to be no. The only tiered class feature is ability score improvement, which happens at which happens at 8, 12, 16, 19, which I think is the standard progression for all the classes except for rogue and fighter. 4, 8, 12, 16, 19. 4, 8, 12, 16, 19. All right, yep, I was right. So I'm not sure what exactly would be the benchmark for the spellcaster sidekick class. It could be wizard. Wizard sorcerer. It could be cleric druid. It could. I doubt it would be ranger paladin or arcane trickster. So again, no hit dice given. Just, yeah, just one of those things. It just builds up and annoys you. Okay, bonus proficiency for the spellcaster. You get proficiency in 1 saving throw, wisdom, intelligence, or charisma. You gain 3 skills, which is a list of skills: Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation. So I'm going to have to compare this with the skill list of Sorcerer Wizard. This wizard has proficiency in 2 skills. Sorcerer. The sorcerer has proficiency in 2 skills as well. So the list is a mixture of both, I would say. So the spellcaster gets Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, Performance, Persuasion, and Religion, which I don't think. Well, the wizard has Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, not Performance, and Religion. So Performance, Persuasion, I think, comes from the Bard set of skills, and the Bard gets 3, I believe. I mentioned earlier. They have 3 skills, except the Bard is like choose any 3. Let me just go one more check to see what does a I believe the sorcerer gets Persuasion, but maybe not Performance. Yep. So the sorcerer has Persuasion, Insight, Arcana, and no Performance. So I guess Performance comes from the Bard part of it. And technically, the sorcerer has a more interesting list because he has Deception, which the spellcaster does not. It has Intimidation, which the Arcana doesn't have. So the bonus proficiency list of the spellcaster is more of a mixture of sorcerer wizard, I would say. Yeah. All right. If the psychic is a humanoid, it gains proficiency with simple weapons and light armor. So that's interesting because I don't think the wizard even has proficiency in light armor. Yep, doesn't. I don't think it's the same for sorcerer. So that might be coming from the warlock part of it. Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's the warlock. And just the mere mention of warlock has already thrown a wrench into my understanding of this spellcaster class. So yep, so the warlock has light armor and simple weapon proficiency, exactly the same with the spellcaster sidekick class. So definitely you're looking at some sort of like wizard, warlock, sorcerer hybrid, uh, that and the same template is used when casting so-called divine spells, even though 5e doesn't have that strict definition anymore. All right, so the main event of the spellcaster class is obviously the spellcasting class feature. First level gains the ability to cast spells. If the creature already has a spellcasting trait, this feature replaces that trait. Now that's the spellcasting trait. Remember that because certain races have something called an innate spellcasting, and this does not replace that. So if the race that you picked that's of CR1 and below, which now that I mention it, I don't think there is a CR1 creature that has innate spellcasting. I may be wrong. Uh, it's most likely there is a CR1 creature that has spellcasting trait. Let me just go through the list and see if there's any possible candidates. Okay. I think I've already found it. It's the fairy dragon. So the fairy dragon may have innate spellcasting abilities. Okay. Don't have it here. I'm gonna have to. So yes. So the fairy dragon has innate spellcasting. And therefore, if you have a fairy dragon sidekick which takes the spellcasting feature, then they will have an additional spells to cast in addition to their innate spellcasting ability. So that's something to keep in mind. That could potentially be a big a powerful thing. The DMs will have to bear in mind. All right. Choose a class: bard, cleric, druid, sorcerer, warlock, or wizard. This choice determines the spell list, spellcasting ability, and spellcasting focus used by the sidekick as shown on the spellcasting table. So this is pretty much standard stuff. You get to pick which class spell list you want to use, and therefore which ability, so on and so forth. So it's all the usual suspects. Bard uses charisma with the musical instrument as a focus. Cleric, druids use wisdom with a holy symbol and druidic focus. Sorcerer, warlock, wizard. Sorcerer, warlock uses charisma using arcane focus. Wizard uses intelligence, arcane focus. Right. Yeah. There's only that versatility of getting to choose one uh, one particular class feature. Uh, and there's the whole question of multi-classing, which I think they've pretty much addressed it earlier on. Just that maybe some people will still ask the same questions anyway. Earlier on, they already mentioned that you only choose one of these classes for the sidekick, and there's no mention of multi-classing. There's no mention that you can multi-class with that. But I think it's something that needs clarification from in future iterations later on, that you can't multi-class between sidekick classes. I'm pretty sure that's the intent, but I'm happy to be wrong because with it's something I think players would definitely want to be looking into, of how can they modify their sidekicks. And I would say like a combination of like warrior expert or anything with expert would be quite a deadly combination if they are allowed to multi-class. All right. Cantrips. Okay, first level, they know 3 cantrips of your choice from its spell list. Alright, sidekick learn additional cantrip of your choice at higher level as shown in the cantrip notes column of the table. Alright, since you're talking about cantrips and looking at cantrips known, I might as well figure out what uh, progression scales are they using. I'm just gonna go with my gut feeling and say it might be using the wizard's progression, which I believe is different for every class, especially for like warlocks and wizards. Uh, so let me just have a look here. It's 3 cantrips at level 1 to 3, 4 cantrips at 4 to 9, which is the same as the wizard. 5 cantrips at 10 all the way. Alright, so that's following the wizard's progression. Let me just double check to see if there's any difference with other classes. No, the sorcerer actually knows more cantrips than the wizard. 4 at level 1, 5 at level 5, 6 at level 10. So they know a bit more than one. Let me just finally check the Warlock. Pet Magic. The Warlock knows three. Okay, the Warlock. So the Warlock knows less cantrips than the Sorcerer. So in the order of most to least would be Sorcerer, Wizard, Warlock, and therefore the Spellcaster Sidekick class is using the Wizard progression. All right. So cantrips. So they know more cantrips according to Wizard. Spell slots. All right. So there's going to be another comparison. I'm going by my gut feeling that it's also using the Wizard spellcasting table progression as well. So generally, in terms of spell casting capabilities and numbers of spells, you could quite safely say might be as good as a wizard. And let me see. All right, so 2, 3. So let me just go to the very bottom to see if there's an exact match. It looks to be an exact match at level 20. 4 level 1s, same as wizard. 3, 2 to 6, 2 to 5. Sorry. 3, 2 to 5. And the wizard has 3, 2 to 5, 2, 6 to 7s, right? And 1, 8 to 9. So I believe the sorcerer actually has more spell slots than the wizard. But suffice to say, the spellcaster's uh, sidekick progression of spells is exactly the same as the wizards. It looks to me that the sorcerer also has the same progression table. I'm just gonna just confirm that from the book, because that's just probably the 3E mindset talking in me. That it was understood that the sorcerer casted more spells than the wizard in terms of long range, in terms of long term. But it looks to me like no, the sorcerer has the exact number of spell slots as the wizard. So therefore, the spellcaster sidekick class has the same progression as wizard sorcerers, except for cantrips no, which is exactly the same as the wizards, but not the same as the sorcerer, which has more. All right. Spells known. Right. So I definitely can't check the wizards for this. I need to check the sorcerer spellcasting table for this. And the number of maximum spells they know is less than the spellcaster psychic class, which is the sorcerer has 15, the spellcaster has 16 at level 19 and 20. Okay, that's interesting. I don't think there's any other spells known. I don't think there's any other class progression of spells known that is different. I think everyone pretty much follows the same. Uh, but you never know. Let's just try with the Bard. So the Bard knows up to 22 spells. Okay. I just need to double check if I'm reading it properly. Yes, okay. So the Sorcerer only has 15. Uh, Does the Bard go up? The Bard does go up to 22. So what is it exactly? Whose class is it exactly following? Is it the Warlocks? Okay. The Warlock knows up to 15 spells. I guess that's pretty similar to the Sorcerer. So this is where I guess the spellcaster has a slight edge over wizards. Well, okay, obviously not as good as wizards because wizards, they technically can know infinite number of spells. They're not tied down with the spells node, but it still puts them over an edge than the sorcerer or warlock, but definitely less than bards. Interesting middle ground there. Okay. All right. Spells known. The spells known column of the spellcaster table shows when the sidekick learns more spells of your choice. Each of these spells must be of a level from which the sidekick has spell slots. As shown on the table, for instance, when the sidekick reaches third level in this class, it can learn one level 1 or first or second level Additionally, when the sidekick gains a new level in the class, you can choose one of the spell you know from this class, replace it with another spell from the spell list, which must be on the same level as yours lost to. Yeah, okay, right. So the whole mechanics is very similar. It's the same as the normal typical spells known for like sorcerers and warlocks. You can only know spells that you can cast, and you can also replace one spell at every time you level up. All right, standard stuff. All right, spellcasting ability, which I would assume is the same. For this ability, it depends on the choice you make. The sidekick uses a spellcasting ability whenever the spell is referenced to the ability. In addition, it uses spellcasting ability fire when setting the saving DC for a spell it casts and when making an attack roll with the one. Spell DC is equal to 8 proficiency bonus plus spellcasting ability modifier, which is determined by the spell list that you chose. So yep, standard stuff. Spell focus, also standard stuff that's already picked according to the class list that you picked. All right, magical recovery. Magical recovery, which I'm gonna assume is like the non-wizard version of arcane recovery. So I'm just gonna pull out arcane recovery first. And what does magical recovery say? At beginning at second level, when the sidekick finishes a short rest, it can recover expanded spell slots. A spell slot can have a combined level that is equal to or less than half its level in this class rounded up. Interesting. This is okay. This is exactly the same as the wizard's version of it. Less than half or equal to rounded up. And now the spell slots can be of 6 level or higher. Alright. Once the second uses feature, it can't use this feature again until it finishes a long rest. Huh. Alright, so it's probably going to have an errata of this, which is not mentioned. So the old in the PHB they are still using that wording of once per day. I'm assuming they should have been already corrected. But I'm still using that kind of wording in my book. So I guess there is that difference, but I would find that the magical recovery wording of when you can use magical recovery again would be more accurate and more consistent with the rules that's as written. Uh, so maybe it's something that Jeremy Crawford found out later on, but didn't put it in the errata document for Arcane Recovery. And for all we know, it could be like that could have been changed in the different printing. Like, so this is like similar to the whole can't do evasion when incapacitated problem, uh, compared to the PHB which doesn't have that particular clause. All right, minor details, slightly annoying, but let's just move on. Ability score improvement, as I said, exactly the same with the wizards and any other class that is not rogue or fighter. Potent cantrips, sounds to me is like the same. At 6th level, you're damaging cantrips, even creatures that avoid the brunt. 6th level saving throw, the creature takes half of cantrip damage but suffers no additional damage from effect from cantrip. So that's the wizard's version. Potent cantrips for spellcaster can add its spellcasting ability modifier to the damage it deals with any cantrip. Interesting. This is same names, two totally different effects. And I would technically prefer the spellcaster's version of potent cantrip compared to the potent cantrip for the evoker wizard specialization. Uh, yeah. Okay. If anyone's watching this and reading the UA document and they think potent cantrip's the same, take note of this. Totally different effects, therefore totally different different values. So okay, bear that in mind. Interesting. Empowered spells. All right. So suddenly you have a spellcaster sidekick class that can not only do evoker abilities but also can do meta magic. Okay, let's just read the ones that is in the spellcaster sidekick, because remember, you need sorcerer points for meta magic, and in which case in the spellcaster class doesn't have that, have sorcery points. So let's see how the spellcaster sidekick class does it. At 10th level, Choose one school of magic. Whenever a psychic casts a spell of that school by expanding a spell slot, the psychic can add its spellcasting ability modifier to the spell's damage roll or healing roll, if any. Alright, definitely different from what the sorcerer version of it. Uh, Sorcerer allows you to re-roll a number of dice equal to your charisma mod, must use the new roll, uh, and it's damage dice. Whereas the spellcaster sidekick allows you to add your spellcasting ability modifier to the spell damage roll. And funnily enough, if you've been paying attention while playing 5e compared to 3e, there are no spell, there are maybe almost none, or I would, okay, maybe there are a few, but I would dare to say for a majority of the spells in 5e, you never get to apply your spellcasting ability mods. As far as I remember, I may be really off the mark here, but as far as my memory serves, yes, there are, most spells in 5e do not let you apply your spellcasting ability mod, which is where the spellcaster sidekick comes in. That they have two class features that lets them add their spellcasting ability mods to damages. Um, so I guess it's interesting. Maybe it's a way to give them a distinctive feature that is not overpowered, because remember that the spellcasting mod is still reliant on to the actual ability modifier, which can only go up to a maximum of +5. So that's not a really high number, but it requires the player who's playing the sidekick, whether it's a DM or the PC who already has a main PC, to remember this. They cannot, if and it's worse if like the main PC is a sorcerer and he's playing a sidekick spellcaster, and then he mixes up potent cantrip and powered spells as a sorcerer's version of it. So that's definitely worth taking note. Yeah, now I'm starting to think back that did Mike Merles did did any of this UA in his Happy Fun Hour, because I've definitely been lagging behind on a lot of episodes of Happy Fun Hour with Mike Merles. If he did Happy Fun Hours with these UA psychic classes, I would have loved to go back and listen and hear what were his thinking, what was his thinking process of developing both potent cantrip and powered spells. Definitely changes. There is definitely two distinct sidekick class features that is really different from the base class design. All right, now we are reaching focus casting. So I believe focus casting is something that the wizard already has, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it's focused conjuration, which is from the conjurer. Let's see what does the conjurer's version do. Beginning at 10th level, when you're concentrating on a conjuration spell, your concentration can't be broken as a result of taking damage. Whereas the spellcaster version is starting at 14th level, much later. The psychic has advantage on any constitution saving throw it makes to maintain its concentration on a spell. Okay, definitely a weaker version of focus conjuration, because you still have to make the concentration check, whereas the conjurer's version of it says that you can't break concentration as a result of damage. All right, so it's definitely a powered down version of the conjuration, potentially quite powerful in the sense that concentration spell, one of the easiest way to break concentration is damage. So focus conjuration is definitely stronger, and having the spellcaster at 14th level to only break concentration with advantage on constitution saving throws, well, yeah, I would say it's an interesting, because that basically makes the spellcaster a combination of evoker, conjurer, sorcerer, and yeah, it's a big mix of those. Okay, signature spells. Okay, that's the last class feature, and once we are done with that, I can maybe give up some summary thoughts. Spell. Signature spell at level 20. So the wizard version of it is you gain mastery over 2 spells, you cast them without little effort, choose 2 third level spells in your spellbook as your signature spell, cast these spells prepared, doesn't count against your number of spells you have prepared. You can cast each of these once without expending a spell slot. When you do so, you can't do so again until a short long rest. If you want to cast either spell at a high level slot, you expend spell slot normal. Alright. Uh, Alright, so the sidekick version, the spellcaster version, 20 level spells, choose two spells from this choose two spells that sidekick knows from this class. Urgent spells are first, second, and third. Slightly different but more clearer than saying third. Alright, so technically the wizard signature spell only lets you choose third level spells, whereas the spellcaster lets you choose first to third. Alright, slight difference, but important one. The psychic can cast each of these spells as once at third level without expending a spell slot. Okay, slightly different as well because signature spell for wizard means you can only choose a third level spell, and if you want to upcast those third level spells, you need to spend a spell slot as normal. Whereas the spellcaster sidekick version of it has the versatility of upcasting a first or second level spell as a third level spell. Okay, after sidekick has cast a spell in this way, the sidekick regains the ability to cast that spell with this feature when it finishes a short or long rest. Alright, so the recharge rate is the same as the wizard's version. I definitely give a bit more props to the spellcaster sidekick version of signature spell because of the versatility of choosing between first and second, compared to the wizard's version. Although the wizard's version has yeah, no, they actually do the same thing. So yeah, so the spellcaster's version is actually slightly better. I personally feel, than the wizard's version. So alright, I think we can just start to sum up this video. It's going to be 2 hours. I think it's far too long, but I'm glad that I did this because there are some really interesting observations that I did along the way that I would have easily just glanced through if I didn't take the time to go through everything step by step. So naturally, the most interesting to me is the expert and the spellcaster class because they do slightly different things compared to the classes they are based on. And because of that, and I can finally come to the point that because of that, and given how the restrictions of the sidekicks class is written, there is doubtfully going to be questions of whether a player can pick these sidekick classes instead of normal base classes in the PHB. Based on what's written, I would say it seems pretty clear it's a no because there's a reference to NPCs and monsters, which players are not NPCs and monsters, but there is definitely ways that this can be contended. So I would have much preferred if like Jeremy Crawford or Mike Merles shut that argument down and just say that it only applies for NPCs, monsters, because of the whole CR thing. So what you what I'm seeing at the moment right now, between these three NPC classes, and yes, I know it's a big it reminds 3.5 players a lot of the NPC classes that were in DMG, which was the warrior, expert, adept, and I think there was a few more other NPC classes. But yes, I can see where you're coming from. You're saying it reminds you a lot of that, and it probably does for good reason given how varied the class features are for these sidekick classes compared with their base classes. And I keep making comparisons with the base classes when there's actually no real grounds for doing so. It may remind you a lot of the base classes, but I don't think these sidekick classes were designed intentionally to be like copies or minor versions of those base classes. They are more like an amalgamation of the so-called base classes, but they still stand up on their own to be their own sidekick classes. They should be, somewhat valued based on as sidekick classes, not as like minor versions of the base classes. Because like I said, The expert does some things better than some of the base classes does. The spellcaster does certain things better than the base classes does, and therefore, I guess, if as a DM, what you would need to consider when using the psychic classes is definitely use them. I would definitely use them to fill a hole in classes that are not taken by the party. So I guess that makes a lot of sense in the context of Jeremy Crawford's tweet, saying things like, this is just to fill in party roles for parties that doesn't have enough members, um, and they are way more versatile. And I think that if you give them NPC of a base class from the player's handbook, so this is more these psychic classes are more like for balancing purposes for the party rather than to see them as like overpowered or not for the party. That's probably how I would use these psychic classes. Do I like everything in this Art of Arcana, or how these psychic classes are designed? I think my only gripe so far that I've mentioned is giving extra attack to the expert, because that makes them far more versatile than I think they should be. Uh, like I would have much preferred the expert to stay as an expert rather than a real jack of all trades that can fight not as well, but just slightly better than your typical rogue bard. Uh, what else? Yeah, I generally don't really have a problem with the spellcaster class so far. Despite the slightly higher number of spells known, but there are still comparisons that you can't beat, like the bard. Uh, and the spell slots are the same. The cantrip gnomes is the same as wizards. So yeah, that's it. That I feel that's a pretty good balance. I think the only thing that I'm a bit concerned about the spellcaster class would be the two spell features that I mentioned: potent cantrip and empowered spells. But like I said, there are concerns, but I don't see them as game breaking in any way. So I'm pretty fine with how they're worded as they are. Uh, Minor wording issues here and there, yes. You know, that's probably the benefit of having Art of Arcana, is to hash out those wording, is to find out those wording issues right now before they actually make it to the final print of the book and cause all kinds of havoc later on for the DM to interpret them and argue with the players naturally. Um, Other than that, yeah. Would I replace these? Would I use the sidekick rules over the NPC rules that are in the DMG? Uh, Hard to say. I think, like I said earlier, I think the sidekick rules have a very specific purpose in terms of how it's used by the DM. So therefore, I think it's a very situational thing. Whether, like coming back to the Out of the Abyss example, I may not use this sidekick version rules for the NPCs in Out of the Abyss. Yeah, because given that the number of NPCs there are in Out of the Abyss, and if each of them take all three classes and it's a mixture of all three classes, then I think you're going to have a very potentially more powerful party than having a party size of the same number, but if of base, but using the base classes. So I think I would go back sticking to uh, the the usual DMG version NPC rules. Now, is there anything else that I want to add? I think that's pretty much it for this video and for this Unearthing on Arcana. If you made it this far, I really thank you, because this is probably the longest video I've ever done. I hope it's been helpful and juicy throughout, and you didn't feel bored about it. I'm starting to get a hang of how I want to do this kind of videos already. The referencing is really helpful, and hopefully it'll be helpful for you. I'm gonna try submitting this to the survey. Uh, Hopefully, maybe Mike Rose or Jeremy Crawford will find them useful. I think that will be like the test marker of or is it worth doing these videos. But then again, I mean, like I generally find it fun to read through Unearth Arcanas and really think deeper into it than some other YouTubers might be doing. And I definitely would like I definitely have to put my thoughts into these documents that some other YouTubers may not have. And maybe I mean I'm just one voice in the dozens, so I can easily be ignored or acknowledged depending on how helpful my opinions are. So okay, I think it's a good time to stop right now. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next Anafakana. Bye.